So Netivot Shalom, and we do Parashat Vaetchanan, or as you say here, ואתחנן. Page Chaf-chet, Koach. So the topic is, right, so Moshe is doing a recap, right? He's doing the executive summary to the Bnei Israel, the one that, you know, everybody died, and now it's a new generation. Maybe some of them were already born after what happened, you know, with Chet HaMeraglim, Har Sinai, etc. Children and other that are actually got closer to the adult age, etc. So, Bakashat Bnei Israel, the request of Bnei Israel, ואת תדבר אלינו. Right? So, ותקרבון אליי כל ראשי שבטיכם וזקניכם, and you get close to me, or you're getting to me, the head of the tribe and your elders, and you will say, הן הראנו השם אלוקינו את כבודו ואת גודלו ואת קולו שמענו מתוך האש היום הזה, ראינו כי ידבר אלוקים את האדם וחי. So, again, Moshe is like telling the story to Bnei Israel, but he's telling them like it is if they were there, or he's like saying it like in a guf rishon, like he said, and you would say, actually it was not them, it was the generation before that already died. But this is how he's telling the story. You will tell me, right, the Bnei Israel, Hashem showed us his honor and his mighty strength and everything, right? We heard his voice from the fire this day, and Hashem talked to us. We saw that he will talk to us and we will live, however, but now, why should we die? Because the mighty fire will consume us if we will continue to hear the voice of Hashem. We're going to die. Because flesh and blood, who is the flesh and blood that could actually hear the voice of Hashem talking from the fire like us, and he will remain alive? So you get closer, Moshe, right? Like it's Bnei Israel asking Moshe, you get closer, you will hear everything that Hashem will tell you, and you will speak to us what Hashem is speaking to you, and we will hear you, and we will do it. Okay, you get the picture? The Bnei Israel afraid because they couldn't stand, they're afraid, right? They're afraid that they're going to die when they're going to listen more to Hashem's voice. So they're asking Moshe, you go over there, you talk to him, and then you come back and you teach us.
But this has been going on. This was going on since the 10 Commandments, when they gave the first two commandments.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But why is this new? Is this new, or they're just?
No. Again, remember, this is the last year they're going to get into the land of Israel. Everybody already died. The people that were adults.
Okay.
Mount Sinai, they died. Moshe is giving them the story. He's telling them the story. Right? But he's telling them like it is if like they're speaking to him, but not. He's saying like, and you told me, and you said, and you asked. Okay. So we know the Midrashim that actually when Hashem said the first commandment, which was actually in the same breath, right? Anochi Hashem Elokecha velo Elokim achar al panai. They died twice, and the angel revived them, and they pushed them back. And then they heard the second one and they died again. So after the second time, they said, no. Stop. We cannot take it anymore. And this is what Moshe now is telling the story to the Bnei Israel that now are about to enter the land of Israel. So Rashi explains and says, Ve'at tedaber elenu. What is this language at? It should be ata, right? Ata is for male, it's a masculine, and at, it's for a female. Rashi explained and he said, Ve'at tedaber elenu. Moshe is like not complaining, but he's telling the Israel like, you wear me out like a female. Like my strength now is like a strength of a female. I'm sorry, like you wear me out. And I got sorry, and my hand became weak because I saw that that you don't have the fear to get close to Hashem from love. And it was not like it was like it is if like you didn't like it to learn straight from the mouth of Hashem. And not to learn from me. Right? So he said in this psukim, Rabbi Dikdukai Mefarshim. So the many Mefarshim were like trying to explain what's going on here. He said it's difficult. The kasher shematchilaim beomram hayom hazeh. This day we saw ki yedaber Hashem et ha'adam v'chai. So they said, we saw that day and we heard Hashem, that Hashem will speak to a man, to a person, and he will live. But right after that, they said, but now why should we die? Because a flesh and blood that will hear the voice of Hashem, a living voice of Hashem, speaking from the fire, like us, like we heard the Hashem voice, and he will continue to live. It's impossible. So it's like they contradict themselves. They said Hashem is speaking to a man and he's alive, and then they said, but Hashem is speaking to us and we'll die. Right? Contradiction. Also, we need to understand, במה שבתחילה נאמר, כי ידבר אלוקים את האדם, right, וחי, ובסוף, in the end, like, so the beginning of the pasuk of the verse, it says, because Hashem will speak to the person, ידבר את Hashem, אלוקים את האדם, right, Adam, remember that, and he will live, and then in the end, he says, ובסוף call me basar. Basar, in Hebrew, it's like, it's the meat, it's a flesh, right, flesh and blood, flesh. Asher shama kol elokim chaim kamono ve'chi. Like a man, Adam, will hear and he will live, but basar, like us, will hear Hashem and he will die. So why in the beginning it says Adam, and in the end, basar? Another question from the Mefarshim. Lama nitzter alei Moshe? Why Moshe got very upset or very sad? And he said, you know, you wear me out like a female. Because Hashem actually praised them and said, oh, Netivot et kol asher dibru. Like Hashem agreed, said, okay, yeah, they're speaking right. And then he says, Mi iten vaya levavam ze leira oti, velishmor et mitzvotai kol hayamim. And Hashem said, yeah, fine. I understand they don't want me to talk to them directly, and it's very good. And I wish that their heart will fear me all the time, and they will keep my mitzvot all the days. Okay. And now we said that also we need to understand that bitui, like the expression when Rashi mefarish that you wear me out like a female. Okay, so now we're going to start the explanation. Right? So he was a Rav many years ago, a few hundred years ago, that once in the Shvuot, in the holiday, Yom Tov Shvuot, he was like making noises in the upper world. Why? מה שאמרו ישראל, דבר אתה עמנו ונשמע, ואל ידבר עמנו אלוקים פן נמות. That when the Bnei Israel told Moshe, no, you talk to Hashem and you bring it back to us, we're not going to hear him because they will die. So how is it possible that this generation, the one that left Egypt, again, we're talking about the first year when they received the Torah. So this generation, they're named, right? The nickname was Dor De'ah. They were very, right, wise. Again, not intellectually, but they are because they were in a very high level. So how is it possible that after that holy event of the 10 Commandments, they scared that they will die? I mean, they received the Torah. It doesn't make sense. Hashem sent you to Egypt. You were a slave. He did the 10 makot. He took you out from Egypt. You earned the desert. You received the Torah. Why he wants you to die now? What's the point? This makes sense. But still, they were scared. And he said, because our desire actually, our goal in life really is to have the merit and to hear Hashem's voice, literally. That our soul will go to Hashem. So if that's the case, one thing, it doesn't make sense that after all the hustle and everything that happened to them, that Hashem will kill them right now. It doesn't make sense. But the second, let's say that, okay, fine, they will die. But that's the ultimate goal, right? To go to Hashem. The soul will go to Hashem, so why are you afraid? And while saying that, right, now he's explaining, the Rav HaKadosh Mikovin, he faint after he explained that. And then after they No, they gave him, I don't know, something to smell. They maybe smack his face. They gave him some cold water. He woke up. And now he explained and said that Shepachdam Haya. So the fear of Bnei Israel was that Shema Namut, that we will die, and we will not be able to keep the Torah and the mitzvot. They were scared that they're going to lose it. מלהפסיד את עבודת השם בעולם הזה, because they want to worship Hashem and they want to serve Hashem in this world. Right? So he said, והנה כל התירוץ הזה, but this type of explanation, אינו שייך אלא למי שעובד השם יתברך רק במידת היראה. Only that somebody that serve Hashem out of fear, then he make all this calculation. אז שייכים החשבונות. What worth more? Should I stay here in this world and worship Hashem, or should I die and my soul will go to Hashem? Like he's doing the pros and cons. But when a Jew serving Hashem out of love, בתוך אהבה ראויה, the appropriate love, according to what the Rambam wrote in הלכות תשובה, שאוהב את השם אהבה עזה גדולה, it is like he's love sick. He cannot eat, cannot drink, all day he's thinking about Hashem. I wish that we're going to get to that level. I wish that, that I will remember Hashem maybe an hour in a day, right? But he says here it's somebody like, first love to a woman that he all the time is thinking about her. This is how Chazal, this is how the Rambam said, that it's like a woman that all day you want to be with her. You're just looking for her to smile, do crazy stuff so she will pay attention to you, etc. This is how we should love Hashem. As Shlomo HaMelech says, Ki cholat avani, I'm sick out of love. And the entire Shir HaShirim, it's like an analogy to that. And that's like the final fix. This is the tikkun hagamur of a Jew, that we're getting into that love, that like actually, klot hanefesh, that our soul is yearning to Hashem. Then you don't make the calculation, should I die and don't do mitzvot? I just want to be with Hashem, period. Nekuda, no question. So now the explanation about the claiming of Bnei Israel, that when they claimed, they said, the bigger in them, right, the VIP, the head of the tribe, that as Moshe said, Rasha Shivtechem v'ziknechem, the elder, the president, right? So he said, it seems to be like it's an extra. Kol ma she'erichu, why he was lengthily saying, when they said, right, and Eranu Hashem Elokeinu et kvodo, Hashem showed his honor, his mighty, his glory, his voice, we heard from the fire. Why are you continuing going on with that? But their attention was to say, yes, indeed, in that divine day, when we were elevated into the level of angels, that we had the merit and we saw Hashem's mighty glory, honor, and his voice from the fire, right? Everything that I had, and they were elevated like to be a serpent, right? And that was the emphasis about Ayom Hazeh, that day, we saw that Hashem, Yidaber Elokim et Adam v'chai, but only in that mighty glory, divine day, that specific day when we elevated to be like angel, could be a reality that Hashem will speak to a person and he will remain alive. But after that day, we're going back to our level, and everybody will be continuing the level that he was holding at the time. He's no longer an angel. Then what will happen to us? We'll die. We'll die. We cannot exist, because that level will go away from us of the Kabbalat Torah. How can we continue and hear Hashem's voice and live? Right? Because the Ramban said that it was not only the 10 Commandments. We were supposed to learn the entire Torah directly from Hashem, not only the 10 Commandments. And therefore they ask, we don't want to die, because the mighty fire will consume us if we're going to continue in here and learn the Torah from Hashem. Can you imagine? When the Rav speaks, sometimes we fall asleep. If Hashem will talk to us, you will dare to close your eyes, right? Nobody will fall asleep. How can you? So this is what they said. We're going to die. Nobody is going to remain alive, right? Right? So he said, okay, so now, and this is, if you remember the first question about, or the second question about Adam and Basar, so that's why they said, if we will continue to hear Hashem's voice and will die, and that's the precise thing that they said, Kimi kol Basar, flesh, Asher Shama, right, which is a lower level than Adam. Because the beginning of the pasuk, he says, Yedaber Elokim et ha'adam v'chai. So Adam is actually a level, right? It's not like in English that you have human. In Hebrew, you have Adam, you have Ben Adam, Basar Vadam, right? It's a different level. So Adam, Komat Adam, is like a complete human. It's a מרמז על מדרגה גדולה, שהוא נוטריקון, א', דם, right? Adam. Aleph is Hashem, אלופו של עולם, and Dam is the blood, right? Because we're crowning Hashem on ourselves, on our blood. And by doing that, we are purifying, we are refining our blood. And the basar, which we're made of, this is the flesh, this is the meat, is the materialism, is the gashmiut, right? זה החומר שולט עליו נקרא בשר. וכדאית בתורת אבות, he says, right, על וכל בני בשר יקראו בשמך, all the flesh and blood, right, will call your name. So it means that the one that are deep into the desire of besarim, what is, we say ta'avat besarim, it's basically desire for women. Because we desire the blood, the flesh and blood of them, the meat. It's called ta'avat besarim. And therefore they say, yeah, that day of the Ten Commandments, when we received the Torah, we were in a level of Adam, so we could hear Hashem's voice and remain alive. But tomorrow, we're going to be back to the level of Basar, and we're going to die. How can we hear him? So he said, indeed, everything, what they said, came out because they were holding only to the level of fear, right? Fear. But if they would have the level of ahava, the appropriate ahava, love, then it will become the greatest pleasure to hear Hashem in this world, right? In this world. And this is the explanation when it says, Ve'at tedaber elenu, that Moshe telling them, yeah, and you wore me out like a female, because male is the level of ahava, love, because he's the giver, and nekeva, a female, is the yira. When your wife is screaming at you, you're really afraid, right? So the man is the giver, is the love, and the wife, the one that receives, it's the yira. So that's why Moshe said, you wore me out in the level of yira. Why are you serving Hashem out of that level? You should be serving Hashem from love. And that will be the tikkun hagamur. If you were in that level of love, it will be the final fix. You will yearning and having desire to Hashem, and you will not be worried about dying or not dying. And because you said, and now why should we die? Then because you were holding only the level of fear, and you wore me out like a female. Because I see that you're not afraid, you don't have the fear to come closer to Hashem from love. And even extra on that, right, is adding, it says, Yesh lomar, we could say, She'el Yisrael lo hayu to'anim ve'ata lama namut, haya az hatikun hagamur. If the Bnei Israel will not complain, I don't know if complain is the right word, but if they were not saying that argument of, oh, now why we should die, then we actually will going to get the final tikkun, the tikkun hagamur. Because if they would hear the entire Torah directly from Hashem, then they will not fall into this sin that they had later on. If they were learning it directly from Hashem, they will not, it said, Lo yanoflim bekol hachataim v'pgamim. They will not have these blemishes and the sins that they did later on. And this is what Moshe wanted to have. And therefore he claimed, he said, oh, you wore me out like a female because you don't have that level of love. Because if you had, and you will not complain and say that you're afraid to die, you will continue to learn the Torah from Hashem. Everybody will remain alive. Not only that, but you will not going to make any sins anymore. But bottom line, it wasn't, right? Bottom line, it wasn't like that. Because Hashem's will was not to have the final fix. Yeah, it looked like the game was fixed again. And therefore Hashem told them, right? He told Moshe, Netivot kol asher dibru. Yeah, they were speaking right, because all I want them now, I wish, you know what, that they will all, they will have fear. I wish they will have even only fear that you will have. And they will fear me all the days, and they will keep the Torah mitzvot, because it's not the final fix. It's not the time. It was not the right time. Because before the final fix, before the madriga, the appropriate level, which is right, midat hayira, כדאית בזוהר הקדוש, פקודה קדמה, right? So the fear was before the love. Although love is a higher level, but you have to have fear before. So before the final fix, it's the yira. And that's why he says, yeah, etivu, yeah, they should hold in the level of yira. That's true, because this is what Hashem wanted at the time. And in that matter, ita basfarim הקדושים, it says, לפרש בדברי יתרו, right? When Yitro, when he came to Moshe and he saw what's going on, that Moshe is judging every small, little, tiny thing that Bnei Israel bringing to him, he says, Navol tibol, ki kaved mincha davar. I always keep forgetting how you say the Navol tibol, something like a flower that is dying slowly. How you say that word in English?
Withering?
How?
Withering?
Wilting.
Wilting or withering?
Wilting or withering also. So each one told Moshe, wilting and withering, this is what will happen to you because it's too much for you. So they said here, if you wouldn't say that, why open your mouth? This is exactly what we're saying, like, don't open your mouth. When somebody is buying a new car and the other guy said, oh, that's a great new car. Have you have insurance? Because, you make an accident, the car will be total. Next day we'll have an accident. Why open your mouth? Why? So if Yitro wouldn't say to Moshe that this is too much for you, you're going to whittle like a flower, then he will have the strength to carry it and to continue. But he just told him, it's like putting him back into that level, which is like a natural, how you said, a nature, to the nature, the level, right? Hashem created the world, like everything looked like it's nature, and there's the rule, but we know that there is nature, right? That's above that. Yeah, so if Yitro wouldn't say that, it's too much for you, you have to put judges, blah, 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 Moshe will continue. So that's why...
Yeah.
What?
That's called the power of suggestion.
Yeah. But so that's why he says here, so the same way, if Israel wouldn't say, and why should we die, will be the final fix, even when Hashem didn't want it to happen. But they didn't say that. They said the opposite. Then they put themselves back into the level of Yira. So, there is a big lesson here. To think before we open our mouth.
Well,
that's a big lesson.
That's very common. Everybody says, "Oh, be careful,"
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
What would I have done if you didn't tell me to be careful?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, they usually say, "Be careful because you can injure yourself."
Right, yep. Right. So now I'm going to be afraid that I'm going to injure myself because you put this in my head.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody.
Yeah, but sometimes I think that people are saying it to give you more like a bracha that you shouldn't hurt yourself.
So don't say that. Say enjoy yourself and make sure and return home safely. Okay.
Yeah, stay safe. Yeah,
but that's how people say it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I know people have good attention, but sometimes
don't take it the wrong way.
No, so I'll tell you something. There is a version of brachat habayit, right? The blessing of the house, which is written. And there are two versions. One, it says, in this house will be no sickness. In this house will be no jealousy. In this house will be no fire. And there is another version that says, in this house will be shalom bayit. In this house, it will be fun. In this house, it will be pleasure. You understand? Emphasizing the positive, but not trying to reduce like the negative. So that's the big difference. So a few things here that the Bnei Israel, they shouldn't say, we're going to die, we're not going to do that, we're going to do this. Don't say that. Just continue. You hear Hashem after all the miracles and everything. He took you out of Egypt, split the sea, bring you the Torah. Why you need to be afraid of?
I gotta go. Sorry.
Okay.
I have to say real quick, when it comes to people saying it in the negative way,